everybody, what's up? Don Carr here with Dave Coltai. Thanks for being here, and we have the new Supro Airwave.
At long last, the Airwave is amongst us. This amp has been years in the making. It was actually the fearless Matt Duncan from Sweetwater who encouraged us to go down this road to make a Supro amp for the modern era. And what we've done here is we got a fully analog 1x12 combo amp, end-to-end, with a real Celestian guitar speaker in it, plus it has a state-of-the-art cabinet emulation piece that's in here from 2Notes, which allows us to have, along with the real onboard guitar speaker, 12 different virtual speaker cabinets that were drawn from both the current lineup of Supro amplifiers as well as a collection of historic Supro amps from the mid-50s up through the late 60s that are all inside this one amp.
That's right on the amp.
That's right. So along with all of these traditional analog features, you got a 12AX7 preamp, you got a JFET booster, you got an overdrive circuit in here, a 3-band EQ, a real analog spring reverb, a tube tremolo, and master volume, which all feeds into a Class A 6v6 power amp. And right there, right at the output transformer where it hooks up to the real onboard speaker, it feeds into this 2Notes DSP module, which contains all of the virtual cabinets. And then out the back, we have a stereo DI with a pair of XLR outputs, independent level for the cab simulator output, and a headphone output so that you can practice in your head. And on top of that, there's a dummy load. So if you want to mute the onboard speaker, you can turn the speaker off and just use the headphones or the DI outputs for like a silent stage or for recording without any noise in the room.
Which is exactly what we're doing here.
That's right. We got this thing just running strictly DI, and we're going to take you through some of the features and get Don's first impression of the Airwave.
I love the fact that it really is a tube amp. It's just a tube amp, and then, oh yeah, we added this as well.
The soul of Supro has always been going back, way, way back, starting in 1935.
Yeah.
That's when the first Supro tube amps first emerged. We picked up the mantle in 2014 and have been making Supro tube amps ever since, and this is definitely the most ambitious of all the projects we've tried to tackle, to integrate all of this modern DSP technology, which not only has the cabinet emulation, but also has a whole software suite that you can edit on your computer with USB connection in the back, as well as via your phone.
Man.
So it's got Bluetooth in it, hence the Airwave name. It's a tube amp you can manipulate from your phone. We're truly living in the future, Don.
The future is now. I love it. Now let's hear this thing, man.
All right, so that initial clip, we're just kind of rocking a clean sound, and I figure now we'll switch on some of these onboard effects. Let's hear the booster first. Just kind of beefs up the tone a little bit,
yeah.
And that's a discrete transistor booster based on Pigtronic's Class A boost, actually.
There you go.
That's just straight up in the front of the amp. We've also got a foot switchable overdrive circuit here, so I'll put that on.
Go to humbuggers here.
Yeah, man. You'll notice the amp's really sensitive to how much input you give it. So it can do all the really sparkling clean tones with single coils, and it can get real filthy and dirty when you smack the front end of the amp.
Yeah.
And that's one of the virtues of analog and tubes, is that they're so responsive, and this amp still has all of that feel that you get from having a fully analog circuit up front.
Just like in the real world, whatever cabinet you run this amp through, it's going to sound completely different. So right now, what are we running through right now exactly?
So the cabinet emulation we're using right now is preset number 1 in our modern bank of cabinets. So we've got a 6-way rotary selector here that chooses the different cabinets, as well as an illuminated button here that switches between 6 modern cabinets and 6 vintage cabinets. So preset number 1 is actually the Phil X signature Super 108, which is a Dyne-IR capture of our 1964 Super reissue, which is the one knob in the truth, little tiny Supro amplifier, although it's small amp, it's got a mighty sound.
It does, but it's got that cool little boxy thing going on, which is great, man. It's something that makes it really punch through a mix, you know?
Totally. And in here, there's also a 1x8 from the late 50s that came from Marco Moyer, who is a guitar tech for Aerosmith. So let's just switch up to that. All I got to do here is hit the group button, and we can now hear the vintage 1x8 Super that the more modern one is based off of. And here, just with the boosted sound. Before we move through and do all the cabinets, I figured let's just dial up the tremolo real quick.
Sure.
The reverb and the tremolo are also foot switchable in this amp. At the moment, I've just got the foot switch hooked up for the boost and the overdrive, but there's a pair of jacks on the back that you can use our dual foot switch with a standard TRS cable that gets you all 4 effects switchable.
Oh, nice.
So we'll just put some depth up on this thing, and you can hear the tremolo. One thing that's pretty interesting here about the way we've done this is this other switch up here is a pre-post switch. And that switch chooses how the analog signal is routed to the digital cabinet emulator. So right now we have it in the post mode, which means that the entire signal is coming through the analog portion of the amp and right through the power tubes and through the output transformer, and is then routed into the speaker emulator. But if we push this and we go blue, we can get it into the pre-mode, which allows the digital cabinet emulator to take its feed right off the 12AX7 preamp. All of your controls are still in play, but it takes away the 6V6 Class A power amp and actually introduces a 6L6 single-ended virtual power amp. That 2 notes worked into the software for us. So you have kind of like an alternate sound here that's baked into the amp. So we can just hear that.
I gotta hear that. That's cool, man.
I'll go ahead and turn the booster off so you can hear it like pretty clean.
That's dramatic, man.
It is, and because
really...
it shows you actually how much a real output transformer, how much color it really imparts to the sound. Sure. So the blue mode, the pre-mode, is a little bit more high fidelity. It's got a little bit wider bandwidth, and the post mode is a little more gooey and chewy because it's got the output transformer in there and real actual hot power tube.
Even the emulation is emulating a larger power section.
That's right.
Right, so it's already gonna have just that much more headroom anyway.
The 6L6s have a higher plate voltage, and it's really a testament to how incredibly good the 2 notes technology is. They're really amazingly realistic. One of the experiments we did when we were dialing this thing in, one of the cabinets in here is actually the Airwave itself, and we stuck a 57 on it. We dialed up a virtual 57 and just tried to match the positions and everything, and got it to the point where we can't even tell the difference going back and forth between them.
That's cool.
But I will say that having the onboard speaker is super cool, because if you're like me, you like to move a little air in the room. When you have the speaker going and no DI, it's guitar amp. And when you have the DI going through front of house, it's okay, that's through the PA. But when you use them both, it's like the best of all worlds. And you have a full-on rock and roll tube amp that you're used to, that you can use in a club or in a theater stage and actually have some proper monitoring that you're used to and get natural feedback from the onboard speaker, as well as all the clarity and the convenience of having the DI situation.
Right, I mean, that's the thing, convenience, man. The flexibility is so nice, man.
All right, so now that we went through all the various features on the amp and its raison d'etre and why it's here, let's do a cabinet tour.
Okay.
We'll go through all the virtual cabinets. I'll cycle through them and you'll be able to see them change on the software, which we have hooked up via USB out the back of the amp here. So starting with the 1x8 Super, and we'll go from there. All right, so we're going to go back to the beginning here. The way I've got these presets organized is that as we go from 1 over to 6, we're increasing the size of the speaker, starting with an 8 and ending up at a 1x15. We'll switch this up now to the modern collection, and now we're back at the Phil X cabinet where we started in the beginning. And that's your virtual cabinet tour from all of the Supro cabinets that were captured for the Supro Airwave. And we actually went to the Hit Factory studio in New York City with Andy Cherna, one of the capture masters from Two Notes, to make all of these presets, which was 8 different microphones moved in sequence around the room, blasting frequency sweeps for 3 days straight to create these cabinets. And it was quite an experience. I felt like I was going Looney Tunes by the end of it.
That's a great collection though, Dave.
It really paid off. And not only do you have access to those 12 cabinets with those 12 presets, when you register the product, there's another 6 boutique Supro cabinets that came out of my office, which are some like weird, not actually available combinations of different, really expensive and some even prototype speakers with various other alternate cabinets. Plus, there's over 800 cabinets in the Two Notes ecosystem, and you can download any of them and load them onto the Airwave amp. You can also load your own IRs into this amp, all using the Torpedo software. Another thing that's worth mentioning is that the Torpedo software itself has a huge array of additional effects that come into play here. There is an EQ, there's an enhancer, there's a room reverb, there's a noise gate, there's also the twin tracker, which we've got just a little bit of it, like 1% dialed in on these presets, and it gives you this wonderful widening of the stereo field.
Right, which is one of the benefits of having this in stereo anyway, right? Is that you get that option.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
And so there's 8 different mics you can choose from, and you can run any 2 at a time, and you can move them all around the virtual room, and you can choose many different rooms from within the software. You can even move the mics in back of the cabinet. There's a lot you can do with it, and we've baked in a number of sounds that I felt represented a really nice array of usable tones, but it's really just scratching the surface. So you got to try it for yourself. It's the Supro Airwave.
Dave, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it, man. Thanks everybody for watching. And if you have any questions about this or any other Supro product, make sure to contact your Sweetwater sales engineer, or you can check us out online at sweetwater.com.